Hello, friends. Welcome to Worldbuild with us, the podcast where we create fantastical worlds with help from you, our listeners. My name is Rob Hilferty, and I'm here with ominously ordinary Chris Brunty.
Weird.
And another special guest. It's the same special guest, Dynamite Daniel Quinn. Daniel, good to have you back.
Hey guys, I'm back.
Hey.
Now in today's episode, we are going to be starting a series of deep dives into the current nation states that we've established already for this region. And the first one, appropriately enough, this should be coming out the week of Thanksgiving. We're going to be focusing on the Caliphate of Feasts and Famine. Now, Dan, you weren't here with us when we created the Caliphate of Feast and Famine, and it's really because we kind of just started with the god and spitballed ideas about him, or about the culture and the nation state around it. Essentially, the idea behind the Caliphate of Feast and Famine is that of the Ottoman Empire, where it's a broad, wide expanding, somewhat warlike, I'd say warlike, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Yeah. They definitely invade others and
it's an empire. It's an empire, but it's also a religious empire, and
because we have them that they subjugated Hondasa.
Yes, Hondasa, the city that we created, is also under the thumb of the Caliphate of Feast and Famine, and essentially there are two castes: the haves and the have-nots. It kind of the society encapsulates the ideals of feasts and famine, where there is those who are wanting and those who are constantly and perhaps in excess of want.
Oh, that's super interesting because that makes me think it's like inequality is built into the concept of that culture.
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of the people in the Caliphate understand and believe that inequality is predestined and predetermined, and it's necessary to have. And there's also this idea that, with that idea in mind, there's going to be revolution and there's going to be upheaval fairly constantly because the god constantly favors those who want it more. So who wants it more than those who have not? Mm-hmm. So you have this cycle that's pretty much endless and keeps everything kind of strong, if a bit, unstable.
Yeah.
Did you guys
you have to lose, the more you have to gain.
Yeah.
Did you guys have details about the god itself?
Yeah, the God of Feast and Famine was actually the first divine coalescence that we created, and it was the first divine coalescence to ever exist in the world of Thousand Gods.
Which is how it got such a powerful boon at the beginning, because it was two gods rolled into one, so it could snowball other ones.
That
exactly.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I remember. And now I remember this because that was an episode I listened to quite a while ago.
Yes. I think
Episode number 1.
Yeah.
No, I think it was episode number 2. Because
it
was episode number 2 because we came to it with our respective gods and then created it. Yeah,
that's right.
That seems so long ago now. And today, we finally get to really elucidate on the nation state that we created so long ago. And I'm actually very excited. And this is probably going to be a 2-part episode. This first episode, we're going to be focusing on the government and power structure surrounding the Caliphate, the culture, kind of what makes the Caliphate different, and economy and resources. So what does an empire as powerful and as old as this one have that makes it as successful as it is? So, gentlemen, where would you like to start?
I think we should start with government and power. The caste system and how it works. Are they born into it? Is it more of a nebulous thing of where, you're on the bottom rung of society, you can work up, as we've suggested, or is there going to be someone who believes himself to be pious by the fact that they do not want things?
I think yes to all of that makes sense. I think, to be fair, I think that a caste system, by definition, you are born into it. It's not like you're able to just rise above easily. It's one of those things where, unless you're specifically noted, and I suppose that brings up the first question, how is there mobility within the caste system? How do you rise above? Is it always a violent revolution, or is there some kind of meritocracy based around it?
The question is, how does the caste system work in existing societies in terms of mobility between castes?
For the most part, you have to do something pretty substantial to move up. It's where someone who is high above the other casts have to go just like, no, he's worthy. Let's elevate him.
Can elevate them up. Okay.
In some caste systems, yeah,
Well,
I've seen that.
I mean, in there are certain societies that you get knighted for extreme merit and whatnot. So why not do something like that? Although I do like your idea where there is this really pious group that believe that they don't deserve or should not be any higher than they are now. They're essentially like aesthetics.
Yeah.
Or, like those self-flagellating monks and stuff like that who just refuse. Yeah.
Well, this is fantasy, right? So maybe to spin off of your idea of like elevation, what if it's not like just an abstraction? What if it's like a magical or a divine elevation? Like to be moved from one caste to the other, something has to happen from a divine perspective. Like those priests you're talking about to do something to you that changes because if you're born into a caste, you know what I mean?
Actually, that's really fun. Well, not fun. I really like that idea because now epiphany. Let's keep that caste of monks to be essentially the lowest, or at least the most self-serving, and then they are the only ones who can elevate the other
So
the
it's
other
down
castes. Right. So it's like, look, we're not going to move up because we don't deserve it, but we also have the most power because we choose who gets elevated and how that happens. And so obviously you look at them and like, yes, they're in rags and yes, they're starving, but at the same time, you still respect the hell out of them.
They're rung outside of the caste system also in a way.
Similar. Yeah, it kind of in a way. Yeah.
It's kind of like the High Sparrows group in Game of Thrones, right? Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah. I want to run with that. And then, you have this whole caste system that deigns people above and below. And, I mean, how many castes do we want to have here? Is it literally just the haves and have-nots? Because I'm fine with that. Like there's just you do or you don't, and there's no middle ground, basically.
It might have something to do with economy then, the number of castes. Like if it's just haves and have-nots, like you'd have a ton of people that are poor and a ton that are rich. Is that sustainable from an economic point of view?
I feel like the rigid caste system should be the have and the have-nots, and then within them there is the social ladder.
And there exists some kind of weird gray middle area type thing.
Yeah, there's going to be a wealthy man who is part of the haves, but he is subservient to this person who is clearly above him.
Oh, I was thinking he was like he's one of the ones who just wastes a lot of what he has, and yet he's a glutton. He's not smart. He was born into it. He's just a failed businessman. He had that steak company that went under. I'm sorry, I'm just talking about Donald Trump now.
Wait. Oddly enough, I could also see another way of rising throughout the ranks: military service. It's a warlike country.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
It also allows plenty of those people who are just like, you mean I get a bed and food? Fuck yeah, I'm into this.
You could make them
Wait
the
a minute,
monks
this is a
warlike.
political statement.
You could make the monks warlike. Have something to do with, if we're making them the ones who do the elevation, maybe that has something to do with combat or war.
So you're suggesting that you marry the two together, like, but
I don't know how.
I don't know. I'm trying. Okay, well, hold on. Maybe there's essentially two parallel caste systems where the monks are one part of it, and then you have the generals who they are the have of that half, and but at the same time, all they can do is lead armies. They have no social standing. They are like that's all they're good for, essentially.
That would also really protect them from any sort of rebellion from that military caste.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, yeah. I'm down with this. So we've got two parallel caste systems, and that is where does the power lie, I suppose, right? Because it's a caste system, but there has to be like a supreme, like one at the top, right? Or is it kind of like a weird...
All. Or is it like a weird power being balanced between three things potentially?
I mean, four things even, because then you have like the most, ironically, you have the most powerful of the haves, the most powerful of the have-nots on both parallel caste systems, and it's like a weird like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a quadumvirate. What's the word I'm looking for?
Quaternary or
Quagmire.
Quaternary.
No. That's just every political system is a quagmire. No.
Oh, it's I think tetrad is 4. Yes,
I
not
thought
3.
Tetra was.
It's 4.
Is it?
Yeah, tetrad.
Okay.
Strangely.
Sure.
What is a caliphate? Isn't it usually caliphate like ruled by princes?
Caliphates are religious.
Yeah, but I mean like the word. Like, does it mean ruled by princes?
I do believe that each caliphate owned his own kind of kind of like a lord or a duke.
yeah.
He owned
A caliph is a religious figure, though.
Okay.
It's not royalty. It is-
But how the Ottoman did it was just like this man owns this parcel of land and
Oh yeah, and that's actually kind of an important thing as well. Is I imagine that the way that they rule is very, in a lot of ways, hands off. Like they, as long as you pay tribute to them, they're totally fine with you governing your own system, which is why Hondasa runs the way that it does, because essentially they don't care. Like, yeah, rule the way you want to rule, worship the god you want to worship, as long as you pay us money, and as long as you, when you come, when you are called, that's fine. And I think that's an important thing to it. I also had this kind of ancient Persian Empire type thing where you see these irregular units that are just made up of all of the lands that are conquered, and they're like, all right, what can we do? Your specialists are archers, your specialists are cavalry, your specialists, what do you guys do? Oh, that's weird. Okay, yeah, we'll find a place. Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
for the back for now. Go to the
So
back.
are these generals the ones unifying each caliph? Because they're at the top, or is it like who? Like when the leaders of both ends of the spectrum come together, like what's their body look like? Like what's the council look like? I guess to make a decision.
That's kind
I
of
could
tough.
see it being a council of all the different little dukedoms or lordom
Caliphs.
caliphs.
Yeah.
The council of caliphs.
Actually, what we could do is we could have one there's one per caste that are all representative of that caste, and they're essentially like, look, we're the 4 pillars of the caliphate. Not to get too religious in terms of like what we have as a real world parallel, but we have the 5 pillars of Islam, but that's more of like a cultural thing. Here we could have 4 pillars of the caliphate as a governmental body, or essentially like a power structure type thing.
Are they elected or born into it?
I imagine born into it, because
or appointed by the monks.
essentially, yeah, because the god of feast and famine was originally once the god of hunger and the god of the fates, and they divine coalesced into the god of feast and famine. So I don't think that like you work your way up and you're a plucky farmer and then you're a cow. No. You are born into this. You are ordained on high, and that is how it works, because that's how the fates have deemed it so. And don't get me wrong, of course there are historical contexts where, there's someone who wasn't deigned, but they definitely slipped in there somehow, and guess what? That was fated as well, because that's how that type of preordained magic type stuff works. So I think that's a good wrap up for government and power. I mean, having an emphasis on the military also kind of shows and leads into culture, which I think is important, because, it shows that they have a deep respect and emphasis on military power, much like, the Romans. If you wanted to serve, then if you wanted to be a senator, you had to serve in the military. And in this way, we can also, again, lead into culture and go from there. So what makes the Caliphate of Feast and Famine so different and so unique?
Well, it has to tie into the 2 extremes, right? So either having an excess or lacking. So maybe there's something about temperance in their culture that matters.
What do you mean?
So temperance being a balance of 2 things. So like maybe even if you're like on the bottom of the rung, you have kind of like not stoic, what's the word? Like a Spartan approach to life. Mm-hmm. So like even then you don't do things to excess or to, to keep a balance between the 2.
Or maybe on an individual level, you essentially choose, this is the thing I'm going to feast in my life, and this is the thing I'm going to famine in my life. And maybe that's kind of prevalent throughout the culture. So maybe if you're a skin and bones kind of like really thin and like rags, maybe you're rich in some other way, or maybe you're like, that's what all sages look like, are rags essentially. Or maybe in the opposite end, maybe if you're a chef, you're just like this bulbous, like really just glutton of a man, but you're very, when it comes to something else, you're very, you yearn
They're
for
devoted to
something.
those two, so they have put a devotion
Right.
to each of those ends.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You because you
One is your
either-
anchor.
Yeah, like you're anchoring.
Exactly.
either
Exactly.
one.
You choose two things that you are devoted to being a feast for and a famine for, and then you live these lives of extremes. You know, where
And it takes a balance, a temperance to keep them in check.
exactly right.
I could also see one of the important things being for them, I don't want to say like a Sabbath-like day, but just a day of when it's just like, all right, yeah, we don't eat on Friday, and then and then we feast on Saturday.
Absolutely. Like again, going back to kind of closer to real world, really, but like Ramadan, where there is a period of fasting followed by, you know, like having a communal moment together. So maybe we make that essentially their weekend, right? Where first there's the day of famine, where no one eats, not like no matter the caste. And then the next day after that is the day where everyone comes together in the streets and there is feasting and everyone like throws away money and, you know, whatever. And, going back to that kind of personal feast and famine thing, do you want that to be an individualist kind of credo where you're allowed to pick, or you're like family? Maybe it's based on your family.
Maybe it could derive from your cast.
Maybe one of the priests does like an augury and decide just like, well, it looks like you're going to be celibate.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
that's neat. Like
that's
little
yeah,
munchie,
that's really
right?
cool.
Let me get these dice bones out.
No.
and-
I want aruspicy if we're doing it that way. Aruspicy is where they take an animal and they gut it and they
I see.
read the entrails and stuff
Entrail
like
reading,
that.
yeah.
Because again, I mean, feast and famine right there. You know, come on.
And that's also fated, which is great because it's kind of reading your
That
fate.
yeah, that's
you
a
know?
really great idea, Chris.
It's
yeah.
cool.
All right, so we've got that. Okay, I really like where we're going with this. What else? Because in Hadassah, right, when you look at I think one of the best things that we did with those episodes, by the way, the Hadassah episodes, I think they're episode 4 and 5. They're one of our least listened to episodes, and they're
really?
and they're ones that I am the most proud of because I love the city of Hadassah so much.
Labor of love.
It really was a labor of love. It was our first, anyway. But I say that only because I want more people to listen to those episodes. But I get back to it because what can we say? Because when I think of Hadassah, I think of the NPCs and the characters who are living there. I have a very vivid image of what they look like and who they are in my head, based on the kind of like stereotypes that we created around them. I mean, in Hadassah, they are loud and they love to debate and they like things a certain way, but they also don't like to mince words. There's a lot to it there. So I want to do something like that with the Caliphate, because what does it look like? How can you like spot, like if you're traveling down the road and you meet someone for a minute, you have a brief conversation, you're like, I know exactly where you're from. I know who you are based on that.
Well, this is a culture of extremes, then, right?
Sure.
Is that reflected in like how they dress in any way?
I feel like there would be some people who are extravagantly dressed with like silken robes, bejeweled.
Okay,
They're gaudy as
Or if you see a group of people, could it be that you know that they're from this place because you can tell that they're clearly from different castes together?
That's actually one thing that I had in mind as well. Yeah, like where you can tell, like there is a man who is incredibly well dressed and well robed, and he is talking very kindly to a man in rags.
Right.
And so it's this kind of weird dichotomy. It's like if you go to Boston and you see a guy in downtown and he's talking to a homeless man.
Right.
But
But there's
they're
no
talking
aversion.
Like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like completely okay. And that's
That's
actually
what I like about this nation is that usually in a caste system, the castes like revile each other.
Yeah.
I want it to be where it's not like just like, no, that was your fate. It could have been me.
Yeah. It's almost like there's like, hey, no hard feelings. Like I understand what it's like. And in a lot of ways,
Unless someone upsets things. That I could see.
Of course. And then as soon as you step out of line, you're like smacked down really hard. One thing, okay, so another idea that I had, right? Because if you're talking about extremes, right? Yeah. This is the kind of the fun thing that I wanted to do. I wanted, you know how there are certain, ethnic groups who are called, oh man, you're really passionate. I kind of want to do something like that where it's like they either love you or they hate you. And there's no in between, so it's a matter of, and it's. I feel like it's based on a person-to-person basis, almost like a nicer version of the Soup Nazi, if that's a weird reference to kind of dig up. But it's like It's like, oh yeah, you're cool. I'll give you soup. It's like, no soup for you.
They've got like a hot and cold personality, right?
Exactly,
Like, that's how
yeah.
they are, yeah. Because they've seen the world split into two halves, essentially.
And in a lot of ways, I think, you know, as kind of welcoming and as diverse as everything is, I think that they are inherently conservative because of the idea that, like, look, you don't break the mold. You do not upset the balance in things because that's how bad shit happens. Like when you were saying, Chris, that, you know, like, oh, as soon as you move or you try and move out of your caste, your caste, you're smacked down hard. I think that kind of reflects in their mood and their personality and culture as well. Because they don't want to upset the balance and order of things.
The other thing that I could see being big about them, and this would cause a bit more of a like cosmology thing going on, but going back to fate and things being preordained, I think that they would be focusing on like, oh, this is what today's horoscope for me says. I'm going to be worried about this all day.
Interesting. Okay, so they're also particularly superstitious about omens and stuff like that.
Yeah,
okay.
I could definitely see them being the type of where suddenly they're like, oh, nice to meet you, and a dead bird lands, and like, oh, okay, yeah, no,
I'm out.
meeting's canceled.
Yeah, okay. I like that idea a lot. That's really fun.
And then people are like, what the fuck?
Or, imagine like if you were like in a foreign delegation and then you go to, like, you're like, okay, we're going to meet with the Caliphate today. And then they're like, we can't do business today. We're out. And like, we just traveled 3 months. I don't know what to say to you right now.
Can't do it.
Yeah, did you not read the omens today?
Did you see today's sunrise, you madman?
I mean, that raises a question about, It raises a question about, like, why do they fear that superstition? Like, why do they have that superstition? Like, so are they afraid that if in the next life they could end up as the other end of the spectrum? Like, so if you're split into haves and have-nots, right? Like, why do you have the respect for the people who don't have that?
That's actually a very good point, and I think that we should tie that into some kind of historical, cultural event where it's like, when these things happen, when rebellions happen, you see, like, that's the fall of the empire, essentially. That's their Ragnarok. Something like every time a revolution or like something happens with the caste system that changes, something bad has befallen the Caliphate. And realistically, it's due to the fact that you introduce a destabilizing element. But that's the realistic part.
The last revolution, we lost so much land, we lost.
Right. But they can't recognize that because their mindset is so focused on being preordained and everything like that they don't see that as, oh, that's the natural.
But they see it as a karmic retribution.
It's karmic and it's against their dogma.
That makes
of course.
sense.
Yes.
That's why, because I can't, like, it's very difficult to imagine even, like, say, our culture where you have massive inequality, right? And there's disrespect between the two castes, quote unquote, although it's not a caste system. So it's like for the two to respect each other, there must be some great fear built into the culture.
Of course, and every time it's been calamitous. Like, let's say that they've not just lost wars, but they've lost swaths of land, or like it's been particularly bad each time that it's happened.
To treat someone below you poorly
invites disaster.
It invites bad fate.
Yes,
I like that.
Absolutely.
That's really fresh, though, I think, of a take of any culture. You know?
I think that's really fun, and man, that's okay. So
because it's easy to do the suppressed people kind of thing,
right.
Of where
Whereas here they're revering the poor, which is just like we never see that. You know,
it's not necessarily reverence though. It's
or
just
respect
more,
for them.
I think respect is more. It's like, hey, that's not on them that they're poor.
But the most basic needs could still be taken care of because they're just like, oh yeah, we make sure that there's food in the soup kitchen. It's all from our leavings, but
we'll make sure they're hungry, but they won't die from starvation. Something like that. Oh man, that's fucking fun. I
use this root, it suppresses the hunger. It's great for them.
You know that exists as a thing. There's something that's basically like an appetite suppressant built into their culture because that's how they have to be.
Food is a good question in culture if we're talking about culture. Like,
yes.
I mean, the Lord of the Rings scholar could tell us about some Lord of the Rings food.
That's Chris, by the way, for those of you who haven't been paying attention.
So, like, are you talking about like honey cakes or like as far as what I'm viewing here for food, I could see it being preserved and smoked food being very big because it's the fact that you have to wait for it, the fact that it has to go through a period of time where you're looking at it being made and you have to be patient.
Yeah. I was also thinking of something like, what's something that you make that is either really good or really bad. I was thinking like a souffle, because it's a matter of you can make it and then it collapses or something like that.
The other thing that I could definitely see being a big deal is desserts.
Of course.
You got it.
Desserts are a big thing. And it's not just like, what do you want to do? Like some kind of dates? Oh, what? Okay, fig Newtons. Whatever the generic term for fig Newtons are. I want that to be a thing. And honey, like honey drizzled.
Fig bars. I believe fig bars would be the...
No, there's got to be a regular name for fig Newtons, right?
Is there wildlife that could be turned into like big roasts? Like that's unusual wildlife that lives in this area? Like hunting some particular things and
like an aurochs or something like that? Or
we haven't explicitly said whether or not it would be bad to eat, but an anathema?
Oh.
I mean, that's decadent.
I
Because
mean,
you
yes,
have to
it's
hunt
decadent,
it. It's like a
but-
big thing you have to hunt down, and then it was just like,
I don't know. I don't see
anathema's
it.
on the menu.
I don't see it because it's like its soul is damaged. You're eating essentially a cursed beast. I don't think that's a good thing to be eating.
Maybe it's the only thing you're allowed to eat during the famine part, so you don't eat anything.
Prove you fucking
Oh,
want it.
it hurts your soul
Yeah.
to eat. You're just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it.
That and salt bread.
Yeah.
Salt bread. Actually, that sounds kind of good.
Salt bread?
Yeah.
I mean, just
Salt.
salty
That's a
bread.
pretzel. That's
Yeah, I'm into that.
Oh, it's literally just a pretzel.
I want that.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, if we're going to be talking about like a caste system, I imagine that there's essentially like meals that are basically preordained for each caste. Like you get this meal, you get this meal, and it's like a group of meals. It's not like you only get gruel, but it's a matter of like you get this grouping of foods, you get this grouping of foods, that kind of thing.
I also want to put a pin into coming up with a name for the cast, rather than have and have-nots.
Yeah, no, we should definitely have each of the four pillars should have their own name, but we're gonna wait on that.
The haves, the kind of haves, the don't have,
The definitely don't have
the don't wants.
Oh, I like the don't wants. Yeah, they sound fun.
Is there ever a day when roles get reversed?
Is that a holiday?
I don't know.
So there's a holiday
the
where
Fool's
everything. Oh, like April Fools. Or like, oh man,
They all
that
wear
sounds awful.
It's like a
And, like,
really
how
calm
much
purge.
Oh, they all wear masks on that day, so nobody knows what caste is what.
That's way more fun.
Fucking love
Oh
it.
my god, where everyone is truly equal and
Yeah.
like fates can change and stuff like that.
Oh,
There
yeah.
we go, Daniel. I knew we brought you on
And
for a
then
reason.
boom, star-crossed lovers are baked in.
Yeah, someone
Oh.
who's a have, has sex with someone who's a not, and then their fates are intertwined.
But then, of course, they know,
Uh-huh.
and they like look at each other from across the cultural divide.
Rags to riches.
It's like
Oh,
Romeo and Juliet, but in a caste system.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fucking fun. I mean, and of course, you know me. I love anything that makes me think of a million different characters that I want to hear the story of, where it's like this is the one day. Yeah, awesome, absolutely amazing.
Bastard born doesn't know which
Yes.
caste he's in.
Oh,
Well,
which fate
they
pulls
know
him.
because it's not hereditary necessarily. I like
Oh,
the idea
because of
that
the augury.
The augury,
Months,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
that also has to suck. It's just like, damn it, last three sons have been fucking of the have-nots.
Wow, can you imagine what kind of looks you must get? Like, don't have his kid. It's gonna come out of half.
Or
knot,
if
know?
you were
I'm getting the
augured,
Henry VIII vibe from
Yeah.
that. It's just
Yeah.
like, you know what, we're done. Divorce. You, wife.
Yeah.
Let's see. Damn it.
Yeah. Like
Why
you're-
does it keep on being my wife's fault?
cursed wombs all over the place.
or your parent was have and a have not, right? One of them dies, and the only one left is in the caste you're not in.
So you can't
know?
even interact with your parents.
Yes.
If that's the case, then we have to come up with this idea that there is like there's
An
essentially
appeal?
no, not an appeal, but like there's essentially a group of what's the word I'm looking for? Midwives. They're essentially like they're essentially a whole cast of nannies who all they do is like, look, this is my lot in life is to be a midwife. I'm going to be this child's mother, like the wet nurse type thing. There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially in the lower class, like they would probably, they wouldn't have them on hand, but they'd have to use this to take care of them.
Yeah, not only that, but that actually kind of relieves the burden of childbirth or like child rearing in general.
That's an orphanage.
Yes, it is an orphanage, but it's also like a fairly good orphanage because again, it's like, hey, you're taken care of, like, or like you're taught in the bad orphanage where it's just like, hey, look, oh no, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. Is the have-not orphanage just like, hey, go run around on the street? like
Probably.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's probably. I imagine the slums. Like they're all these kids everywhere, and they're just doing whatever, and they
Oh, man,
they move
that's-
between families because there's not really strict.
Fucking
right.
urchins.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Let's go back to food for a bit, because I imagine that there's a lot of rich foods. So like maybe there's a lot of butter, or a lot of like heavy creams or something like that. Kind of
Cheese.
Cheese is absolutely a thing. But that means that there's cows, right?
Yeah, but it's also incredibly by accident. It was actually someone trying to just sacrifice milk, and then they made cheese. It was just like, oh, it's still good.
That's pretty good.
It's
yeah.
weird.
All right. So with the invention of cows, though, with milk, you imply cows. But cows require a lot of kind of
Flat
grazing
land
land.
and yeah.
I don't see that here though.
What's the
see
geography like? I mean, I guess it's a later question.
We're gonna
Whoa,
get into
you
that
can,
later.
you
But
can
I
get
think we can kinda
cheese
get
from
into it.
yak.
I was thinking goats actually, because first of all, goat cheese. I'm a big fan of goat cheese. Some people don't like it. My wife doesn't like it.
No.
Yeah, and I think Dan,
gross, yeah.
yeah. Really, I love goat cheese. I think it's delicious.
Cheese is delicious.
Nope.
I think it's a texture thing for
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
a
people.
texture. That's
yeah.
what it is. I just can't look at it.
Yeah, I love it on a nice bread with some honey drizzled over
Maybe
it.
if you
Fucking
hit
put
it, I
in
wouldn't
my
notice.
mouth.
Like if you hide it,
Put it
you
in
can't
your
see
mouth.
it. Different
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
No, I love it.
So that's actually a good segue into the economy of like the goats as
And
being a
resources.
farm
Yeah,
animal.
yeah, like what kind of economy and resources we built around.
Yeah,
it.
So you're seeing it as being mountainous?
No, not mountainous. I was thinking more. Again, I'm thinking more like desert land, or at least kind of
Oh, I see.
not entirely desert, but somewhere around that area. Maybe it's kind of like how Egypt was, where it's a lot of floodplains and a lot of nearby rivers and stuff like that.
An oasis that kind of
Actually, rivers make a lot of sense, because then you have good years where the rivers are all, and not only that, but you connect to Hadassah, who also are built around rivers, and so you can go with that. So you have like the really flooded plains, and then you have the ones that like, oh, it's a drought, it's not doing so good this year.
Is it mostly desert so with those surrounding those rivers?
Oh, and that also could put a spark of contention between them and Hadassah. It's just like they divert a river. That's not what fate wants.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, maybe that's where they're like, hey,
to
let's go
move, yeah.
conquer them. Let's make sure that gets taken care of. Yeah. What
I
were
mean,
you
is
saying,
is
Dan?
it mostly arid, this land, besides the rivers?
I'd like to think so.
Okay.
Shrub.
Well, what if instead of cows you have like insects? So for example,
Milking
like
insects?
yeah, so like ants,
no.
they collect these little green bugs called aphids that are totally harmless, and they milk them.
Yeah.
So what if you've got like insects mostly in the desert, and that would feed the poor, like if they ate insects very well.
You
their
recently watched
delicacies.
Snowpiercer, didn't you?
No, I haven't.
Because
Right?
you're talking
I saw
about
that like
killing
4 years
insects.
ago. no, honestly, because I imagine milking an aphid. That's huge.
Oh,
They're
so
both
it's
horrified.
like a mega ape.
Yeah, it's like big. Yeah, like a cow.
No, because now I'm just okay. I can't think of that without thinking of Starship Troopers.
It's afraid.
Like, yeah, it's afraid.
But don't you want to know more?
I really do. As long as I'm doing my part.
The only reason why I thought of that is because of the desert. Like, what lives in the desert? Giant insects.
Giant insects do not live in the desert. They live in Australia. Actually, I think having like kind of a wheat-based or like maybe like Fertile Crescent type of desert or arid area at the very least. We can go with something like that, and then you can
Elephant
go
milk.
with...
Quinoa.
I was not thinking elephant. I was thinking more
Elephant
like-
milk.
Yeah.
Elephant milk? Elephants don't live in the desert.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Like an Africa savannah kind of thing.
yeah.
Okay, I can see a savanna, but not like a...
No, not like a dunes. no dunes with elephants.
No. I couldn't see an elephant. Okay,
pack
so
of
you mean
elephants
like
there.
desert can mean everything from tundra
Right.
to like
Some more
sand,
savanna.
So
With some grasslands.
Let's say savanna.
Okay.
Let's say that it's a very hot, arid savanna. We can kind of go with like a Pride Lands vibe. We can have lions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
There we go.
We can milk some lions.
And of
What
course,
are we milking?
and of course,
why? You just want to milk everything.
giraffes, Daniel. We're going with David.
Yes.
We're milking giraffes.
We gotta milk something weird, otherwise it's not fantasy.
That's not true at all. You can totally have a normal, like, Nutrisystem, whatever the fuck it's
They actually
called.
employ where they mix a elephant with a cow, and it's done by the flesh shapers. And that is what they
It's the
subsist
only
on.
good thing that came out of The Last Jedi was the milking scene. So it's like we got
Oh, the blue milk
the blue milk.
does body good.
I am so stunned. I am so stunned right now.
Wait, actually, going back to it, hear me out here. If we're going with the giant insect thing,
Who said we're going with the giant insect thing?
half the people here are on Team Giant Insect. You could do insect jelly.
Oh, jelly. Like
Yeah.
a jello.
Look, we've already got the insect people.
Oh, there's insect people? I forgot about
No. We actually don't. No, but we have the Sierra Consortium with their honey thing.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
that's
Oh, yeah, those are like... Yeah.
I kind of want to feel like we should move towards
fine.
something else.
I feel like you're not on Team Milking Random Animals.
I'm really not though. That's the thing. If anything, I'd be okay with some kind of like Ibex or something like that. That'd be
Let's do that.
acceptable. Or like, something like
like
I'm
a
fine with that.
really fat Ibex. Udders.
Are we like?
What kind
this-
of
is
weird
this a
porn
fetish thing
Yeah,
now?
exactly. What kind of weird fetish are we fulfilling for you right now, Daniel?
Technically it's under lactation fetish.
Oh, God.
Oh God, damn it!
Now that I've
Daniel.
derailed everything.
No abbreviation for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you call it? Lack fetish? Like, oh man, this is going off the rails hard.
All right.
let's move
So
away.
back to not
So rich foods,
not a big dairy industry.
Rich
Got it.
foods also either into really spicy foods, like just heat
Handasa
hot
was-
spicy. No, the Handasa was more about spice, like a lot of like salt, a lot of
Oh,
punchy
spicy
flavors.
is not spicy.
Yeah, I'm talking like heat.
Like dangerous spicy. would be
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like the shit that if you go into like Shalimar, for example, and you like dip your finger in,
Die.
and,
I
like,
want
and it's
spicy
like
food
your
now.
whole face is just on fire, like literal flames out of your
Maybe
mouth.
in those savannas, there's certain plants that have like really...
I have a. Oh no, I was just doing that because I have. You're making me hungry. I have a spicy meal waiting.
What do you have waiting?
Pork chops that's covered in this thing called blade marinade.
Blade marinade.
Yeah, I don't.
Does it just cut you?
It's
so
no, it's pretty much
spicy?
ghost pepper and paprika. I think.
Oh,
Gee.
okay.
Fucking want to eat it.
So yeah, you're talking about a meal that you would have in the Caliphate, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, spicy food. Death sauce.
Wait a minute. Are we also talking about literal feasts here as well? Like
I
where
think
there's just
so.
like course after course after. So even like, so my idea is now it's not just it's kind of like in Rome, right? Where you don't just have one course and you're done. It's a matter of we're having at least 5 courses every single meal.
Also, I would like to interject, sorry, with just one tradition, and I forget which culture actually does this, but you're not allowed to stop eating until the host stops eating.
Oh, gosh.
I
yes,
love that.
Yes.
I love that so much.
And like the host will eat,
my
and then
God.
even if you only have to pick up like one pea at a
Keep
time,
going.
you have to be seen eating.
Okay,
Great.
yeah, that's in there.
That's super culture, yeah.
Absolutely in there.
We're
Okay.
just looking at, please, come on, man.
And especially if like maybe they don't like a new member of the family, so the father like or the mother
I haven't
keeps
fucking
eating.
eaten all day, motherfucker.
Yes. She like it's like a marathon against, you know.
Well, yeah.
You
all right.
The new
stupid
son,
piece of
you know?
shit. You don't even know.
Yeah, I'm in.
Oh,
Okay.
but why are you getting up? We haven't had dessert yet.
No, I'm just thinking about that scene from Indiana Jones where they're eating the
Monkey brain?
Yeah, they're
Where they
really
serve weirder things.
Yeah, it's like just super racist. Also, racism aside, we might want to do something like that where it's just like it's
gotta have-
not the racism. No, not the racism.
Speaking of racism, not all bad.
To be fair, you gotta add some racism.
Do not soundbite that,
to
please.
be fair, you gotta have racism.
That's staying in, just so we're clear. No, I agree. Racism is adds
Realistic.
to the culture,
Yes.
and it is realistic. But what I was suggesting was that we introduced the idea that there are just these absolute. So you were saying eating anathema, right? And eating aphid milk. I'm being serious. Let's now add it in, but it's now a special occasion where it's like this is the exotic feast.
Yes.
Where it's a matter of like let's just get the weirdest shit that we can possibly find, and we're gonna eat that. That is something that and maybe it's like maybe it's almost like a contest where it's like who has the most exotic
the
meal.
weirdest thing.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
also have it taste good.
of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of
it
course.
ties into.
Anathema milk.
Oh my god. You gotta add
It's
spice
like
to it,
black
and
and
it's
on
fine.
fire.
It's almost spicy, you know?
What is that?
But I mean, it ties the question of them having all these things, exotic things to choose from to make their feast means they must have access to those resources.
Yes, and they're an expansive empire,
Right.
and I think Hondasa is actually a big part of that. I don't know how.
Transportation would have to be big. for
Yeah,
moving
that's
everything.
actually a really good point as well.
Using both Hondasa, I believe, and this spanning culture, I think they had to do what Rome did. Roads are.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to be able to ship something from one corner to the other as fast as possible.
Roads are a big deal, and I think that because let's just say now that Hondasa was probably one of the first vassals that they've kind of, and it's almost like a partnership at this point, but of course there's still vassalage. But like they look at each other and they're like, look, you're going to supply us with the materials, and we're going to make roads that are amazing, long long roads, expanding roads. In this universe, all roads lead to the Caliphate, not to Rome.
Is that the capital? So is the capital here like the conquered Hondasa, or is it a different?
No.
capital?
No. The capital would definitely be somewhere else,
Okay.
and that's actually what we're going to be talking about next episode.
Okay.
So let's hold off.
Oh
on
yes,
that.
you're right.
Yeah, and so in the next episode, we're going to be covering the overall geography of the land,
Right.
different points of interest that are kind of like either natural wonders or something like that, and then of course we'll have the capital, and we'll kind of deep dive on that a little bit. But for this episode, we're still into the economy and resources. So yes, having those roads, very, very important. I also like the idea we've introduced two different kind of river-based cities or river-based areas. I imagine that they're also big on sailing. Maybe not like ocean sailing, but at the same time they have like little skiffs or something like that allow for the easy transportation of goods.
Especially with the rivers, yeah.
Exactly right. Kind of. I think that's kind of important as well. And maybe they're not necessarily.
We're not.
I would probably suggest that the rivers aren't like really strong rivers. Like it's not like rapidly pushing, but it's kind of like a still lazy river, so they can go up and down the river a little bit easier. And again, just allows for the easy transport of goods and services.
Just picturing a really fat dude in a tube.
In a tube. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
What about trade? That's a big part of the economy. Like, what are they trading out, and what are they getting in? Like they importing.
That's a good point.
I think since they own a large piece of land, it could also be the fact that, and being militaristic, it could be easy that, all right, you can come through this large swath of land. You don't have to worry about bandits, but you do have to worry about tolls.
Tolls that's a good point. I think toll roads would be really important. I think that they'd have to have some kind of, I think stone and metal would also have to be really important to kind of continue to push that. All right, so one of the things that I want them to kind of have to import is wood of any kind. Like, I think that they'll have wood, but not necessarily like a wood of good quality or one. It's kind of like how the people of the steppe, like they kind of have Mongols, for example. They had really excellent recurve bows, but the wood that they had to use, they literally had to take several pieces and lacquer it together. And one of the things that happened with the Mongols is if it rained, that lacquer comes apart and their bows become significantly worse.
Wow.
So they're really dependent on the weather. Which now brings me to the people of Feast and Famine. They are really dependent on, bad weather, they're not going to have a good time. Because, again, it's feast or famine. If you have good weather, you're good to fight. If you're bad weather, you can't. So, in that case, poor wood quality, kind of a thing that I wanted to focus on. So, if they're looking to import wood, that's a good thing. And the other thing that I want them to have that's of good quality, stone and metal. Well, at the very least, I want them to have a really good supply of metal, like some kind of a strong mineral.
Yeah, stone and iron, that gets you forts and arms. And I think with the militaristic background that we're trying to build, that should be a foundation.
Yeah, I think that would support the idea of, it's a matter of, well, we're militaristic because we have strong materials and stuff like that. Are they the kind of people who have mercenaries, or is that too much out of the ordinary? I'm saying, like, do they sell their forces for a profit? I don't see it happening, but I'm just
inclined to
curious.
say no too. I'm not sure why. I think it seems out of their.
I think
feel like it,
I think
right?
it's a thing of pride also, where it's just like, no, if you wanted it, you'd have it.
Yeah. Okay, that's
because they're
that's a good point.
destined to be that way. So why would they be employed by others who do what they're not destined to do?
If you hire us, the fate will be changed. So
Oh, okay. All right, so we've got strong minerals, stone and metal, poor wood. What other kind? And not only that, but toll roads.
What about an abundance of actual wildlife? Since
Yeah.
they seem to have such weird access to exotic stuff.
That's a good point. Kind of like fur traders, but like exotic fur traders. Now that I said like savanna lands and stuff like that, I see them decked out in kind of like
lion pelts.
literally, yeah, like they're
Weird
walking
stuff.
around like in lion pelts and stuff like that.
Like
yeah,
maybe like they have like crocodile purses and other kind
That
of weird
does
reptiles.
give a huge breadth of things that they could. It's just like, what the hell is that? Oh, it's my zebra shield.
Yep.
So
yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. Oh man.
all of the strange patterns. Well,
So there's lots of flora and fauna potentially in the savannah. That's unusual.
Yeah, and I think that if you want to go back into the caste system of the military, also reflecting haves and have-nots, you're going to have the generic soldier, where they're basically just faceless. Like it's like soldier number 2, and they all look the same. They're all outfitted the same, and then you have the haves, which they're essentially irregulars, but they're also remarkably well trained. They're essentially like you grab heroes. You're like, go out and get your own equipment. Come back with your own fighting style. We'll make it work in the army. And it's like, what do we got? Okay, cool.
commando unit, go.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're the elite, but they're also like decked out like, look at my black lion, like that type of shit. And it's like, look at this sword that I got. Just stuff like that.
It's made from sky metal.
We don't have sky metal yet, do we?
Oh,
What's sky metal?
it's just a meteorite.
Oh, that's
just
cool.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, one of the things that I forget what they called it, but it happened in Egypt in the sand. There were 2 really cool things. Lightning, if it struck sand, it would form this weird kind of like pattern that they saw it as incredibly rare and very valuable because they called it something like a moment of God trapped or something.
That's first of all,
neat.
that's a dope name.
Yeah,
Let's
I
just take a
like
moment
that.
to appreciate how fucking cool that is.
And the other thing was meteorites and other things. Not so much the metal, but the fact that it would hit something so hard it would turn it to glass.
Because it relates to the whole fate, the belief in fate. Like
Yeah.
for the gods to interact with the world in any way would be like a sacred thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And what's more 1 in a million chance than lightning,
Lightning, yeah.
and then finding it?
Here's the last thing that I kind of want to approach in terms of trading valuables and resources. I imagine that flesh shapers notwithstanding, they're probably the biggest source of slaves in the particular region of a land of 1,000 gods, because I just see them like subjugating people and being like, hey, look, you're gonna go live as slaves for now. Or you can even have something like what are they called? The Mamelukes. So the Mamelukes were Christian soldiers who are forced to renounce their faith and then become Muslim, and then they are trained like all get out, and they become the masters of martial weapons, and they become elite squadrons essentially, and they create. I want to do something like that where it's like, when they conquer people, they separate them into groups. Like, you're gonna go be slaves. You're gonna become part of this elite fighting force that is going to supplement our army.
Getting a real Thanos vibe from where like he conquered those people and be like, all right, you go to the left, you go to the right, kill all of them.
I don't want it to be that bad.
Yes, but the separation is kind of it, just like, all right, divide yourselves into 2.
Do they divine their fates
That's
when
what
they take them? Yeah.
Because they've already the fates have deigned it that we are now your masters.
Your fates are in our hands.
Exactly.
This
Give
is what
them
the
new
fates
fates.
now say.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Cool.
That's cool. And then it's they can also like divest themselves of some responsibility because it's not them that have assigned you to slavery. It's the fate themselves have
Yeah,
made you a slave.
But going back to those elite groups, imagine if like part of that is also preordained, and it will kind of
It absolutely is.
It will weed out the weak too pretty quickly. But I'm just picturing like some fat merchant guy just like, yep, and you're gonna become a warrior. What?
And then you have the cool montage where he like trims down, and it's basically like Antonio Banderas from the 13th Warrior, where he learns how to fight, and then it's like, oh, okay, I guess I have Stockholm syndrome now. But moreover, to go back to the Mamelukes a little bit, it's important to recognize that they really start to see one another as a brotherhood, and it's no longer like, hey, I'm a captive. It's more like, hey, no, I'm here, and because I think at some point they allow them to release themselves. Like it's like, hey, you've served your time. You can now go and leave back to your own home life. But I think the majority, and
they just stay because they're just like, no, I like this life.
Yeah, because like there's a brotherhood, and it's like there's a bond that's created amongst the other Mamelukes. I could be completely wrong about that. I could be mixing two of my histories together, but I don't care anymore because that sounds so cool that I want that to be a thing.
I keep picturing a really armored, decked out, buff looking Marmaduke, and it's
you mean the dog Marmaduke?
Yes.
Oh my god,
That's great.
no, it's not.
I love it.
The Mamelukes are cool.
whoa!
I'm
Don't
picturing.
shit on
Wait.
Marmaduke.
all I'm
Damn it.
picturing
Okay,
now.
I might be mixing Mameluke with Janissary, and I'm going to have to look it up after the podcast.
Janissaries are pretty cool.
Janissaries are pretty cool, and I can't remember if I'm mixing the two histories together, and I apologize anyone who's listening.
Either way, we're picturing Marmadukes now.
No, I'm not. I'm not looking. I'm not
I'm
thinking of a
so
great
picturing
game.
right now.
Like an
Sorry.
Undertale when you had to
Yeah.
fight the dog knight. It's
And they're
just
different
that,
colored
yeah.
dogs, you know, like, because some of them are black dogs, some of them are
We're going to be
yellow.
doing Pugmire now. Is that what's going to be happening?
armor.
All right. I think
Corgi
on that.
Calvary.
I think on that note, I think that's a good note to go out on. Yeah. So Daniel, thank you again for coming as our extra special guest. And for Worldbuild with us, remember, if you want to email us at any point to ask us questions, correct me about my Janissary
that'd be
/
great.
Mameluke history, I'd
Slash
love that.
Marmaduke.
Do not.
If you're Marmaduke
do
fans,
not email me about. Do not
Much love.
email me about Marmaduke. I will delete those emails. Actually, no, I'll forward them to Chris so you can laugh at them. Yeah. No, but if there's anything you want to send to us, you can email us at worldbuildwithus@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Let's Worldbuild. And I think I've got some other stuff, but for now, that's good enough.
and
Whatever.
send all of your hate mail to
Yeah, Chris Prunty at gofuckyourself.net.
That's a cool domain
But
to
anyway,
own. I want that.
yeah,
domain.
it's actually pretty dope.
It's good work.
It's just pictures of me. I look at it every day.
He's his own worst enemy. All right, folks. So thanks again for listening. I am Rob Hilferty here with Chris Prunty and Daniel Quinn. Until next week, we will see you, and we love you very, very much. Take
Happy
care.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving, or if you don't celebrate either, hey, go have yourself a good week. You know what? Binge and purge in honor of the god of feast and famine. Unless, don't do that, actually. I take that back. Hold on.
Don't tell people how to live their life.